You may start, Mayor.
Thank you, Brant. Good morning, everybody. It is Tuesday. Am I on? Yes, I'm unmuted. It is Tuesday, March 8th, 2022. Welcome, everybody. This is a virtual special meeting of the Commissioners of the City of Rehoboth Beach. I'd like to call this meeting to order at exactly 9:00 a.m. We'll start off with the roll call vote. Roll call, Commissioner Tony Sharp.
Here.
Commissioner Susan Gay.
Here.
Commissioner Jay Legree.
Here.
Commissioner Ed Chernowski.
Here.
Commissioner Patrick Gossett.
Here.
Commissioner Tim Bennett.
Here.
And Mayor Stan Mills. We have a full complement of the mayor and commissioners. Therefore, we have a quorum and we are able to formally conduct business today. I'd like to welcome everybody that's watching virtually. As you know, next Tuesday the 15th, we go to in-person meetings. That will be a welcome thing for me, and I'm sure for most of us. I'd also like to thank all the applicants that are here today and participating. And lastly, I'd like to thank all the members of the public that are registered to speak today, and those include the following. Melissa on behalf of Veg Restaurant, Bob Suppies on behalf of Drift Restaurant, Mark Hunker on behalf of Coho's Restaurant, Jonathan Daphne and Mark Sharon, citizens on Canal Street, Paul and Cindy Lovett, citizens on Canal Street, Sean Kelly, unidentified who's he with, Carol Everhart of the Rehoboth Beach Dewey Beach Chamber of Commerce. Thank you very much for your participating and your willingness to provide feedback and input during the meeting. We will call on you all as pre-registered speakers throughout the meeting so we can garner your input. Like to identify that support documents that are ready in advance of a meeting are embedded in the agenda. Go to the city website, go to the city portal button on the center right of the home page and seek out the meeting, and then you can seek out the meeting agenda. The best part of the support documents is you get to see what we get to see. You get to see floor plans. You get to see the building and licensing report. Probably the best part for this kind of meeting is you get to see the menus of the different restaurants. Correspondence, the only correspondence I have identified is from the condo directly next door to Egg Restaurant, and they were, rather than giving an opinion, they were I believe just seeking how to receive more information, and I responded with the link to the city portal so they could access the permanent compliance application. With that, I would like to quickly identify and make sure that a representative is present today for each of the restaurants. We're going to take them in this order. Egg Restaurant, is there a representative actually on the line?
Yes.
Melissa, is that you?
It's Melissa, yes.
Okay, very good. Hang tight. We'll get to you shortly. For Drift Restaurant is the second restaurant we'll hear. Is there a representative here for Drift Restaurant?
Yes, Bob Suppies.
Bob, welcome. We'll get to you as a second hearing today. And then is there a representative for Coho's Market? I think I saw him earlier.
Yeah, Mark Hunker and Jeff McCracken.
Oh, both of you here. Thank you. Thank you very much. We'll get to you third on the agenda today. And then also you can see on the agenda there's room for an executive session as the last thing that we will do today. Because we have 3 restaurants here, it's kind of a unique situation. I thought it was too many to put in a regular meeting, and so I decided to conduct a special meeting. Plus, it gets them settled a week earlier than normal. What I'd like to do is remind everybody that in Chapter 215 controls restaurants and what they can do, and specific to restaurants that serve alcohol, they have to come before the commissioners and get a permit of compliance. That is their first step, being able to sell alcohol at their restaurant. Their second step after they receive the permit of compliance would be to seek a alcohol permit from the state agency. So it's a two-step process there. With that, since we have all three together, Glenn, you normally lead off each permit of compliance with a list of instructions and what the rules are. Let's combine them into one big session up front, if you don't mind, and get that out of the way first.
Thank you, Mayor. Will do. So you did a good job of describing why we're here. It's a requirement of the Alcohol Beverage Control Commissioner if you're going to be an establishment that sells alcoholic beverages. As the commissioners listen, though, to today's applications, there's a few things that they should keep in mind. There's some code requirements that you consider as you make your decision on each of these applications. So section 215-5 is titled Hearing Required. And it says there at subsection B, a permit of compliance or supplemental permit of compliance shall not be issued to the applicant or to the Delaware Alcoholic Beverage Control Commission, except by the favorable vote of a majority of the members of the city commissioners. In reaching their decision, the commissioners shall consider the following factors, including but not limited to: first, whether the applicant has demonstrated that the establishment's primary purpose will be that of a restaurant or dinner theater as defined in this chapter. Second, whether the establishment meets all of the city's applicable zoning and licensing provisions. Third, whether the establishment would be a detriment to the peace, order, and quiet of the neighborhood and the city. Fourth, whether the establishment will have an adverse impact on the neighboring properties or on the city of Rehoboth Beach, considering the impact on traffic, parking, and noise. And then fifth, whether the applicant had made any false representation or statements to the city's employees or to the commissioners in order to induce or prevent action by the city, not only in regard to the pertinent pending application under this chapter, but also in regard to the issuance of a building permit or business license for the subject establishment. So as to the first one, Mayor, there are a number of items in your packet that I'll read off so they're in the record. First, you have the email that you just referenced from the Board of Cottages by the Sea Condo Association dated March 7, 2022. If I didn't mention that, this is the packet of materials for Egg Restaurant. Second, you have a report of the building inspector dated February 25, 2022, and Mr. Janis will read that in a moment. Next, you have several drawings. First, these are prepared by Moonlight Architecture. First one I have is a cover sheet. It's sheet number G001, dated February 7, 2022. It was received by Building and Licensing on February 9, 2022. Next is a plan titled Existing Conditions Record Floor Plan. It's sheet number A101. It was also received February 9, 2022. Next, I have a demolition floor plan, sheet number A102, dated February 9, 2022. Next is a renovation floor plan, sheet number A103, also received February 9, 2022. Next is a seating and egress floor plan, sheet number A104, received February 9, 2022. And then finally is a door schedule, window types, and wall types. That's sheet number A501, also received February 9, 2022. The next item in your packet is a sample menu for Egg Restaurant, consisting of 3 pages. Next is an application for permit of compliance pursuant to Chapter 215 of the Municipal Code. It was received February 9, 2022, and this application includes both an amended restaurant permit of compliance application and a dining patio supplemental permit of compliance application. The application is signed by Melissa Postles on February 9, 2022. The notary is there. There's a checklist for restaurants included and signed. There's a checklist for dining patios included and signed. There's a checklist for prohibited uses included and signed. The last thing I forgot to mention is one of the most important things is the public notice. So there's a public notice issued for Missi's Egg LLC, known as Egg. It was posted on February 9, 2022. And Ian, I don't have in front of me when it was published. Do you have that? Or does it not need to be published? I guess these don't need to be published. That's my mistake. So it's posted February 9, 2022. And that's what I have in the packet, Mayor, for the first one. Shall I wait till the others to read into the record?
Yes, yes, let's do that one at a time, and appreciate that. So I want to make sure that the members of the public understand that all of those documents that the city solicitor just read are available on the city portal. So you see what we see. Let me refresh our memories on what the process will be here for each of the permanent compliance. We're going to identify the submittals as was just done. We're going to receive the building and licensing report. We'll offer time for the applicant to respond. Then we'll go to the Board of Commissioners for a discussion. Then we'll go to public hearing where the members of the public can speak in favor or against or offer any comments, and then back to the Board of Commissioners for continued discussion and hopefully offering a vote to consider issuance of a permit of compliance. With that, we will turn over to Matt Janis, Building and Licensing, for his building report.
Thank you, Mayor. Good morning to you and commissioners and members of the public and city staff. Before you today, application number 0321-01 is for an amended restaurant permit of compliance and a dining patio supplemental permit of compliance for Egg, located at 510 Rehoboth Avenue in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware. Again, this is an application for a modification to an existing permit of compliance with a dining patio supplemental permit of compliance. The following is a complete report for the application referenced above to be heard. Pursuant to section 215-3, the applicant is listed as Melissa Postles of 37454 Barton Court, Rehoboth, Delaware 19971. The name of the restaurant is Egg. The restaurant is a table service establishment serving breakfast and brunch. The location is 510 Rehoboth Avenue in Rehoboth Beach here. Pursuant to the plan submitted, the following is true. The property is located at 510 Rehoboth Avenue, Rehoboth Beach, Delaware 19971. The structure is a two-story building with proposed permanent seated dining in a C1 central commercial zoning district. Pursuant to section 270-13C3D, a restaurant serving alcoholic beverages is a permitted use. The second story is currently an R2 apartment, not transient. The restaurant areas and information submitted is as follows. The service areas: kitchen, facility, storage, restrooms, employee stations, hallways, and utilities. Listed at, from the applicant, is 1,127 square feet. I have it calculated as 1,759. The dining area is listed as 1,313 square feet. I have it calculated as 700 square feet. And I believe that is because hallways were included in the overall calculation for those areas. So there's a little bit of opportunity for trade-off there. Those numbers would roll up into the prior heading if it was filled out correctly. Permanent seated dining area is 82, and I have it calculated as 68, and that is I believe that is because they included the bar seating in the total overall calculation, which needs to be separated in the report. The bar area is 83 square feet. I have it as 270 as the two areas. Now we're creating a newer bar in the back section if you take a look at the plans there. So those two areas combined come up to 270 square feet. With that said, with those two bar areas, the total seating is the 14, of which I think was included in the overall seating calculation. Restaurant gross square floor area is listed as 3,753. I couldn't confirm that number at all, but what I have is from outside wall to outside wall. That proposed area is 2,845 square feet. Substantial difference there, but I think calculation was done incorrectly on that. Ratio of bar to permanent seating is 14.5 as proposed. I have it calculated as 20.1, and again, I believe that was because they were including that 14 seats into the overall seating. Pursuant to section 215-1 definitions, there is an existing patio located at the front of the property partially located on city property. The existing permit of compliance notes that only that property which falls within the property boundary lines may be used for seating. As applied, there is 8 seats total located within the allowable area. And where that comes from is in the actual minutes from the previous permit of compliance dated, let's see here, May 20th, 2016, meeting of the mayor and commissioners held at 7:06 p.m. that day. For those minutes, it is provided the city solicitor goes on to say basically what is stated here in the report, that only that area can be used. The designated areas for proposed food storage and preparation are shown and labeled on the attached plans. The distance to the nearest property lines of the nearest church, public park, and residential lots are as follows. All Saints Episcopal Church is approximately 0.86 miles in opposite directions. In way to get there. Yeah, but it's several ways to get there, but if you take 2 ways, it comes up to right about 0.86 miles away from each other. Recently, I found out that the actual median there that separates Rehoboth Avenue is actually designated a parkland. So that is our closest park there. I do have it listed as Grove Park. And to my belief, and the commissioners might be able to correct me on this, but the Canal Park has never been truly dedicated as a park as of yet. So what we actually have is the closest parkland is the median of Rehoboth Avenue there. The closest residential lot is an R2, and it abuts the property to the south on Canal and 6th Streets. The applicant has stated that the approximate percentage of revenue between the sale of alcohol and food is 30% alcohol and 70% food. Authorization for the city to investigate is attached. Written and dated declaration by the applicant is attached, and the fee of $1,000 has been paid. Thank you.
Thank you. Now this is the opportunity for commissioners to ask questions of building and licensing. I'd like to lead off with section H that has to do with the existing patio. Because it doesn't seem to resolve, but it leaves the question there about the front patio being partially located on city property. What assurance do we have that that's resolved? And what is the size of the patio?
Is that a question for me, Mayor?
Sorry, Mayor, we couldn't hear you right there, Mayor.
I'm trying to get clarification on the patio size. Trying to get clarification that the report indicates that the front patio is partially located on city property. How is that to be resolved, or how is that resolved?
So Mayor, Mr. Janice and I talked about this yesterday, and he's confirmed that he does routine inspections, and only that portion that is on the private property is being used for patio purposes currently.
And do we have a size of the patio restrictions are 750 square feet per 270-19. But without knowing the size of the front patio, it's hard for us to determine whether it fulfills that size restriction or not. Do we have a size?
Mr. Mayor, if I could, looking at the minutes from, again, the previously referenced meeting from May 20th, 2016, it does go on to say that the patio area will consist of 267 square feet with 8 as proposed seats. Their plans look to be compliant at this point from what's submitted to this revisal of the permanent compliance that currently exists. And we would ensure that, they maintain that 267 usable and 8 seats, of which they currently are doing.
Very good. Thank you very much. Are there any other questions from the commissioners?
I just have one.
Commissioner Gay, please.
Yeah, I'm looking at sheet 804, and
Give us a minute.
Okay.
A104.
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 Yeah, which has got where the tables are.
That's on our floor plans. Okay.
Because, I mean, sort of following up on your question about the existing patio on the front, I see that with the 4 tables that they've had. But in the back, in the new expanded area, there's also a patio, and it's labeled exactly the same as the front one. It says existing patio, but there aren't any tables there. I guess I just wondered if they were also planning to use that back patio. I guess not, since there aren't any tables listed there and it shown there.
Thank you for your question, Commissioner. At this time, they are not applying for that patio to be included in this permit of compliance.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Matt. Commissioner Gossett, please.
Yes, thank you. Just to clarify, there were 2 applications in the packet of information. So the one we should be looking at would be the February 9th, 22 application?
That is correct. The March 17th one does not recognize that the dining patio needs to accompany it.
Okay, and then on your report under D Part 2, you state that the second story is currently an R2 apartment, not transient. What could you explain to me exactly what you mean by that statement?
Fancy building and licensing jargon. It's the use is classified as an R2, and what that translates in the building code is it's an apartment use for non-transient peoples. Okay, so would that mean that there's parking required for that unit? It would, yes, sir.
And as I look at it, that building has 5 units in it. Is that correct?
I believe that to be correct, yes, Commissioner.
So is there parking required for each of those residential units?
Yes, there would be.
Okay. And is that compliant with what we have now?
What we have now is an application. The building does not expand, so it keeps its current footprint. So anything that would have existed prior to this application would still need to remain during this application.
Okay. All right.
Matt, I have a question. I just want to confirm that the interior staircase from that second floor apartment is being removed, correct?
I believe that is correct. I have not seen actual. Let me preface this by saying this space does not exist as of yet. It is still a residential use. They're working currently with their designer to capture that area that is going to be inclusive of the restaurant here. I believe the intent at this point is to abandon that stairway, but I have not seen construction documents for building permit as of yet.
Thank you. I'm not sure that we control that, but I know that the alcohol commissioner does not allow, or has in the past, even in Rehoboth Beach, not allowed a second floor apartment or residence to access and egress from through the restaurant. So I always am attuned to that. With that, are there any further comments by the commissioners on questions from Matt, building and licensing? If not, we'll go to the applicant. Melissa, would you like to offer anything?
Yes, first of all, I would like to thank you, Mayor Mills and commissioners, for calling this special meeting to get things moving along, hopefully. Well, as you know, I'm just looking for a permit of compliance for the expansion of egg. So I could answer a lot of those questions. First of all, we are taking the plan is to take the staircase out by law. So that's kind of on the drawings that you should have in front of you. The existing patio is what we're going with. As far as the neighbors' concern about our cafe, outdoor cafe, as you all know, that is a subject separate from this. That this compliance has nothing to do with us continuing our outdoor seating in the parking lot, which you know I definitely want, but that's irrelevant to this permit. That's pretty much it, unless you have questions for me.
Thank you, Melissa. Now, you mentioned the patio will remain existing. Can we clarify? I think you're talking about the front patio, and that confirm that the rear patio will be left as is for non-restaurant use. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. Any further questions from the
So just to confirm, the application is only for the existing front patio. The back patio will not be used for restaurant purposes?
Correct.
Glenn, a technical question here. When a motion, if a motion is made, would it be directed solely at issuing a permit of compliance for the amended application? Do we really need to consider readopting or supplemental patio permit of compliance because it's already issued?
It is already issued. We wanted to package this all as one entire permit of compliance, including the patio. So when we look back at these minutes, we can confirm things such as the front patio that's already authorized is the only one that's going to be used for restaurant purposes. I guess technically, Mayor, we could have allowed the supplemental just to ride as is, but since we packaged it up this way and there's been discussion about the patio, my preference would be to have a motion that kind of reaffirms the existing patio and issues the new revised permit of compliance.
All right, thank you very much. With that,
One
go
other
ahead.
question, if I may, Mayor.
Go ahead.
And this is to the solicitor. So there is no relationship needed to be considered about the residential units and parking in conjunction with this permit of compliance?
I think that's right, Commissioner. This restaurant permit of compliance wouldn't trigger any new requirements related to the residential use. So I think that's correct. You're right to bring it up, but I don't think it's this application and the building official, I don't think has viewed it that way. I don't think it triggers a new requirement.
But the requirement still stands that there would be a need then for, if there are 4 units, it would be 8 parking spaces for this building?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. There's no more questions or discussion by the commissioners. Let's go to the public hearing portion of this. Let's see, let me find my list. Bob, do you want to offer any comment, Bob Suppies?
No, thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you. Mark Hunker, do you want to offer?
No, thank you.
All right, thank you. Jonathan, Daphne, and Mark Sharon.
Yes, please.
Would you please, anybody talking, please identify yourself, your relationship to Rehoboth Beach, and your relationship to the restaurant, if you would, so that we can better understand your perspective. Go ahead, Jonathan and Mark.
Sure. So I'm John Dauphiné. I'm a resident on 18 Canal Street. So I live very close to Egg and have been to Egg, like the restaurant, but have some concerns about the expansion.
You want to articulate those concerns? Now, remember, we are only addressing the interior expansion per submittal. We're not addressing their existing outdoor dining patio area. That's out of bounds right now.
Okay. Yes, the concern is, so in roughly doubling the indoor dining area, we're just concerned about adding traffic and parking issues to Canal Street specifically, but also I assume on 6th Street and other residential streets surrounding the restaurant. We have seen a terrible amount of traffic that clusters when Egg is open on Canal Street, parking on both sides. It's very narrow. And as you know, the city encourages bicyclists to use Canal Street as one of kind of the more scenic drives, but it really is choked with cars during that period. And in fact, not too long ago, a car hit a light post and knocked it down. Again, showing the narrowness of that road. And frankly, also, although I know it's not designated as an official park, really the Pleasant Park on Canal Street has become more of a parking lot during that time period. And with all due respect to Mayor and Commissioners, I do feel like The initial permit allowed egg a certain number of seats, but with the outdoor seating area, that doubled the capacity, and then this would in turn triple it. So why these are being treated separately, given that they all add to the traffic and parking problems, is surprising to me. So I would just ask that question to you, Mayor, and the commissioners.
Sure, Jonathan, thank you for your comments. The outdoor dining there is allowed expressly because of the state of the emergency and the pandemic. It actually would go away at the end of March unless the commissioners act on further policy allowing it in the future. Anything else?
Mayor, because one issue, they do seem connected only because that did afford additional parking for the restaurant. So that's why I feel that they are connected, but I appreciate that reasoning. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Anything else from Jonathan or Mark?
No, thank you.
All right. Thank you both for being on board. Paul and Cindy Lovett, remember to identify yourself, relationship to Rehoboth Beach and the relationship to the restaurant, please. Go ahead.
Good morning, Mayor and Commissioners. Cindy Lovett for Canal Street, Rehoboth Beach. I have two things I want to clarify, and full disclosure that Paul and I are the landlords of the Egg restaurant. Two things the Egg has gotten a written agreement from the Quay condominium that they will not be using that back patio. So that's already been addressed with the other 4 condo association folks. And to clarify Commissioner Gossett's question, that building only has 2 units in it, the restaurant and the upstairs apartment. The association has 5 units, each of which has 2 parking places. And the Egg restaurant has 2 parking places to the east of the building, and the upstairs apartment has 2 parking places beside it. So right to the east of the building is a spot for 4 parking places, and they are designated to those 2 spots. Okay.
Thank you. Anything else, Cindy?
Nope, I'm good.
All right. Thank you very much. Sean Kelly, please.
Yes, good morning, Commissioner. I'm trying to turn on my...
Yeah, please be sure to identify yourself and your relationship to Rehoboth Beach and to the restaurant. Appreciate it.
Yes, Mayor and Commissioner. I tried to turn on my video, but I was not able to. I live at 506C in the Cottage by the Sea Association. We are directly in between Rise Up and the Egg Restaurant. And I'm going to mirror some of the question, or mirror the concern of John Dauphine about parking. But from our perspective, we find if we're going to double the capacity of Egg, we've never resolved the parking issue that is there currently. Most Egg patrons, if they're coming from Highway 1, will miss the turn on Canal, miss their parking lot, and use our parking lot as a turnaround. There's also why they wait for parking, and this is also goes for restaurant deliveries, or the end of our driveway is blocked. So we've worked with Egg and discussed with them about their vendors, not parking in front of our driveway, which certainly they wouldn't want to allow. But we feel that as we come out of the restaurant, because the current parking in front of Egg, it's always an issue. And we have a current parking problem. So I'm just wondering, are we going to exacerbate this issue without even addressing Egg's proposed parking in doubling their capacity? What is the response from Egg to deal with where their patrons are supposed to park?
Thank you. Thank you, Sean.
Thank you.
Anything else?
No.
All right,
I am. Yes, that's it.
All right. Thank you, Sean. Carol Everhart, are you on?
She's not on the call.
I don't see her on. Okay, that's it for members of the public. I'm going to close the public hearing portion of this and turn it back to the commissioners. At some point, if you offer a motion, you should have some sample motions in front of you to approve the permit of compliance, as well as a supplemental patio dining permit of compliance. When you do that, I would like you to include in your motion specific reference to the front patio, as being 267 square feet, 8 seats, and that it can only be utilized on private property. So that mirrors the last permit of compliance, but I think it needs to be restated now. With that, we've got Commissioner Shanowski and then Commissioner Sharp.
Thanks, Mayor. The question is for the applicant. One of the concerns or frustrations we've heard from some of the neighbors is some of the vehicles turning around in their driveway. I'm not so concerned about that, but delivery trucks blocking the driveway. You know, it's always good in these permit compliance as we make sure that business owners are being good neighbors and working with the residents around them. Have you instructed your delivery folks not to pull into that driveway and use that for loading and unloading, Melissa?
Yes, I most definitely have. I think in the past 5 years, we probably have had less than 10 delivery trucks pull directly into Cottages by the Sea, which, by the way, we do have access. We have legal access there. However, to be a good neighbor, we let all of our drivers know that that is not permitted. I've personally run out there every time I see one pull in and let them know you need to back up. Most of them pull on Canal Street. Also, I personally have never complained, but have had to sit on Rehoboth Avenue while the FedEx or UPS have made deliveries and blocked the entrance to, they've been making deliveries to Cottages by the Sea. Well, my response is that's the city of Rehoboth. That's what when you decide to move in or establish a business within city limits, these are issues that everyone faces. We're doing our very best to be good neighbors. They made this aware about 3 years ago, and we do everything with our employees and our delivery people to eliminate any of these issues. Okay. So yes, the answer is yes.
Thank you.
Commissioner Sharp, please.
I just had a curiosity, and maybe I missed it somewhere in the application. When are you planning for the expansion to be completed and guests to be available to go to Egg?
I'm hoping by the beginning of the season, June.
By June. And just to be clear, that would certainly enable you to have the additional indoor dining available, all of those seats at the same time. Is that right?
Yes, but just to eliminate some concerns here, if down the road, as we all know, it's a separate issue if I'm going to be able to continue with my parking lot cafe dining. If that happens, my plan is to use the original in-house dining and the outdoor cafe. And in the off season, when the cafe is closed, use that new addition in the back as dining. So it would not be per se 3 dining areas. And the reason is my kitchen can't handle that. My staff would not be able to handle that. So we had to take tables away out of the cafe last summer because it was too much on the staff. If I can't deliver the product that we're used to, then we're not going to kill our business by trying to overdo it just to make a buck. Just so that everyone that's listening understands that, you know, I'm pretty true to my word, and that's our plan.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Gay and then Commissioner Gossett. Commissioner Gay.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. First of all, I remember, I was in the audience and I distinctly remember that permit of compliance hearing in May of 2016. And I remember that at the time, the neighbors expressed concern, and that one of the things that, and of course it's been 5 years, I get the sense that much of the time it's been successful, but one of the things that was noted as a, I don't know if you want to call it a concession, but certainly helped in dealing with the traffic and the parking, was that the 9 spaces were created in next door, you know, in the other lot, and Egg rents that space, and that really helped. Okay, well, so along comes outdoor dining, and I understand that we're not discussing that today, but frankly, they're not necessarily separate issues. I get that we won't solve it today, but in my mind, they are not separate issues at all. That one was created to relieve the problems that have come up. And I'm not sure whether delivery trucks were part of that equation or whether it was just for the parking for patrons. But at any rate, to me, they do seem like connected issues. And so they were stated before and they're being stated again. You know, it's tough all around. I mean, I see everybody's viewpoint that Rehoboth is just a crowded city. But I just wanted to mention that had come up before.
Well, just a reminder, when we act on this today, it cannot deal with the outdoor dining and next door. We're merely dealing with the applicant's submittal to us, and that's it. Commissioner Gossett?
It's just maybe a question for the solicitor. There was made mention that there was an agreement signed about the non-use of the back patio with neighbors. Does that have to be a part of anything that we're concerned with, or, you know, it's part of the deed, or does that fit in at all? It seems to be an important aspect, but if it's not part of the either motion or the application, I'm just curious.
Thank you, Commissioner. The agreement, as I understand, is a private agreement between neighbors, so it's enforceable by either of them. It's not enforceable by the city, but there's been a representation made on this record that is an agreement. There's also been a representation made that they will not be using that back patio for restaurant purposes. So I think the record at this point is clear, and the mayor's asked that if there is a motion made to approve this, that you specifically mention it's for the front patio only and not the back patio. So I think the record is sufficient. There's a private agreement. I don't think it needs to be part of that agreement. I don't think it needs to be part of the documentary evidence entered into the record here. I think that what's been put on the record is sufficient at this point.
And the same way with regards to the abandonment of the access to the second floor, is that a part of this at all?
I don't think it needs to be as well, because as the mayor said, that's an ABC commissioner requirement that will be implemented at that time. And indeed, the applicant has acknowledged that stairway will be removed.
I just trying to make the record as clear as possible. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner Shranowski.
Yeah, thanks. Glenn, if you could just clarify for us, because parking has been mentioned several times, and I just want to be sure that it's on the record that there is no parking requirement, correct, for a restaurant under 5,000 square feet?
Right. So I think, Commissioner, something that needs to be balanced a little bit is, you know, I read earlier the requirements, things that you as commissioners have to be thinking about as you go through these applications. So you're right to be thinking about traffic, because it says the effect on traffic. However, you have to balance that with the code use requirements. And for a restaurant in the commercial district, there is no off-street parking requirement.
Thank you for the clarification.
Glenn, I'm sorry, following along on those lines, one of the other requirements is that the restaurant would not be a detriment to the peace, order, and quiet of the neighborhood and the city. Any way to address that aspect?
Just again, Commissioner, I think you have to listen to what the applicants put on the record, as well as what the concerns are that have been raised by the public, and balance in your mind whether this application adequately addresses those concerns, or if it does not, what conditions could be attached to this approval that might address those concerns.
Thank you.
Yeah, I gotta be mindful that when the original permit of compliance was approved, that the commissioners, and I think I was one of them voting at that time actually, that the commissioners allowed a business to abut a residential area. So there's going to be some amount of noise. There's going to be some amount of traffic. It's whether it's manageable or not. I do know that I've witnessed, and I've talked with some of the folks at Cottage by the Sea, that there has been concerns and problems there, and there has been congestion, and there has been challenges pulling out of the driveway and trying to see around that first parking space. So, If we approve this, I think I would direct the city manager and the police to try to continue to work with Cottages of the Sea and with the egg restaurant folks to try to minimize the traffic congestion in that area there. So anyhow, with that, I want to go back to Commissioner Gay, please.
For a point of clarification, did I understand Missi to say that the use of the space is sort of an either or? In other words, she's not planning 3 dining spaces, the outdoor and the current interior and the expansion, that if she uses the interior expansion, she would do that in lieu of the outside. If she gets to use the outside, she won't use the interior expansion.
But that to me, that's out of bounds. That's not within this application, and I don't think it should be on our minds. Glenn?
Yeah, the only reason I mention it is because I think that the neighbors were concerned about the increase in the number of people. But if her plan is not to increase the number of people, that it's giving her flexibility. I understand so we have to vote on it basically as if all this space was going to be used all the time, essentially, right?
Well, we're voting on the application only.
Right, okay.
We don't know the future status of that outdoor dining area. It could be eliminated, could be returned to parking, it could be half and half. We don't know. And so therefore, I would implore you to not consider that. Glenn, am I misspeaking or?
I think that's right, Mayor, especially in light of the fact that March 31st, that space, that outdoor parking lot cafe will not be available anymore. So to the extent that somehow becomes the subject of an application, I mean, it would have to become the subject of a new application that presumably the commissioners would get to consider. And at that time, you would consider that application in the context of what's been approved for the interior and the front patio. So I think you'll have an opportunity to consider the whole mix if it gets before you. But as the mayor says right now, the only thing before you is the interior space and that front patio.
Okay.
Thank you. Ann Womack? Give Ann a second. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to let you know, I do have the postings for the public notice for egg restaurant.
Okay, go ahead.
It was posted in City Hall and on the city website on February 9th. It was sent to the Cape Gazette for publishing in their February 15th edition. Coast Press, February 16th, and Delaware State News, February 17th.
Very good. So that verifies that we are legal in all our publications. Thank you for researching that, Ann. So again, we're at the point, if there's no further discussion, I would entertain a motion one way or another to consider issuance of a permit of compliance and a supplemental patio dining permit of compliance with the notations that I asked for earlier, that the front patio contain no more than 267 square feet, 8 seats, and only be on private property, not on city property. If somebody wants to go further and add that that there is no second patio identified, then you feel free to do that. Anybody going to make a motion? If we have no motion, then Commissioner LeGree?
I will make that motion, although I don't have that documentation in front of me right now.
Would you like me to read it, Commissioner, how it would be made? And then you can say so moved.
So move. I will so move that.
So it would be a motion to grant a restaurant permit of compliance and a dining patio supplemental permit of compliance subject to Chapter 215. and you would find the following to be true: that the proper application for a restaurant permit of compliance and a dining patio supplemental permit of compliance has been filed, that the proper fee has been paid, that the proper notifications have been made, that all parties wishing to be heard have been heard, that the primary purpose is that of a restaurant based upon their application and menu submitted, that the restaurant and dining patio meet the city's applicable zoning and licensing provisions, that the restaurant and dining patio would not be a detriment to the peace, order, and quiet of the neighborhood and the city, that the restaurant and dining patio will not have an adverse impact on the neighboring properties or the city of Rehoboth Beach, considering the impact on traffic, parking, and noise, that the application has made no false statements to, or that the applicant has made no false statements to the city's employees or the commissioners, that the dining patio would be for the front patio of no more than 267 square feet with 8 seats, and will be fully contained upon private property and not on city property, and that the application only includes that front patio area and not a back and not a second patio area. Therefore, you'd make a motion that the city manager issue the application or the applicants a permit of compliance for the operation of a restaurant and a supplemental permit of compliance for the operation of a dining patio to be associated with the restaurant. Now is when you'd say so moved.
Thank you, Counselor. I so move.
Second.
We have a motion on the floor to grant a restaurant permit of compliance and a supplemental dining patio permit of compliance by Commissioner Legree, and we have a second by Commissioner Tim Bennett. Is there any additional discussion? If not, I'm going to do a roll call vote. Commissioner Sharp?
Aye.
Commissioner Gay?
Aye.
Commissioner Legree?
Aye.
Commissioner Shanowski?
Aye.
Commissioner Gossett?
I abstain.
Commissioner Bennett?
Aye.
And the mayor votes aye, and the motion's carried unanimously. Thank you, Melissa. We look forward to your expansion and being a good neighbor with Cottages by the Sea. We'll expect success in both endeavors. With that, we're going to take a 30-second pause to get rid of some papers. The next up will be Drift. The second thing we'll be doing is conducting a public hearing for the permit of compliance and supplemental permit of compliance request by Drift Rehoboth Beach to operate a new restaurant serving alcoholic beverages with 2 patios. Restaurant to be known as Drift Rehoboth Beach, pursuant to Chapter 215, Restaurants in Section 270-19, Use Restrictions Patio. Restaurant will be located at 42.5 Baltimore Avenue. If you recall at the beginning, we read the rationale and the information about the permit of compliance process. We will enter that into the record again for Drift Restaurant application and start again with identification of the submittals from Glenn Dallas.
Thank you, Mayor. And Ann, if you have the publication dates ready for the public notice, I'll ask for those in a moment as well. So the first thing you should have in your packet, Commissioners, is a public notice for Drift Rehoboth Beach LLC to do business as Drift Rehoboth Beach. It was posted on February 9, 2022. And Ann, do you have the publication dates?
I do. The public notice was posted in City Hall and on the city portal on February 9th. The publication was in Cape Gazette on February 15th, Coast Press on February 16th, and Delaware State News on February 17th.
Thank you, Ann. Next, there's an application for permit of compliance. It's both an application for restaurant permit of compliance and for, as the mayor mentioned, 2 dining patio supplemental permit of compliances. If this is an updated application in your packet dated January 19, 2022. The application is there. It is signed. It is signed by Bob Suppies on August 8th, on August 27, 2021. And it is dated January 9th. The notary is dated January 19, 2022. There's a checklist for restaurants, also signed. There's a checklist for dining patios, also signed. There's a checklist for prohibited uses that is also signed. Also in the packet is an application for license as a restaurant or hotel to sell alcoholic liquor for consumption on the premises where it's sold. This is the application that goes to the ABCC. It's for second block hospitality, doing business as Drift Rehoboth Beach, and it's also executed by Bob Suppies. Next, there's a sample menu that was received by Building and Licensing or by the City Secretary on August 27, 2021, and it consists of 8 pages. Next, there's a series of drawings prepared by Design Delmarva Architecture, received February 7, 2022 by the City Secretary. There's a proposed floor plans sheet, that's sheet number A1, and it's dated August 2nd, 2021. Next is an existing conditions plan, that's sheet number A2, also dated August 2nd, 2021. Next is a sections and details plan, sheet number A3, also dated August 2nd, 2021. And that is the end of the drawings. There is the original application dated August 27, 2021, but as I said, there's an updated one in your packet. And that's all I have I'm sorry, there's a building inspector's report that I don't think I mentioned that will be entered into the record by Mr. Janis in a moment. And that report's dated February 25th, 2022. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Glenn. With that, we'll move directly to building official Matt Janis for his report.
Thank you, Mayor. And hello again all. Before you is application number 0821-04. This is a new restaurant permit of compliance and a dining patio supplemental permit of compliance. It's important to note once again that this area does not exist and it is currently under construction with a valid building permit. The name of the restaurant will be Drift at 42½ Baltimore Avenue in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware 19971. This is an application for a new restaurant to obtain a permit of compliance and a dining patio supplemental permit of compliance. The following is a complete report for the application referenced above to be heard. Pursuant to section 215-3, the applicant is Drift Rehoboth Beach LLC, 42½ Baltimore Avenue, Rehoboth Beach, Delaware 19971. The name of the restaurant will be Drift. The restaurant is a table service establishment serving dinner only. The restaurant is located at 42½ Baltimore Avenue in Rehoboth here. Pursuant to the plans submitted, the following is true. The property is located at 42½ Baltimore Avenue. The structure is a 2-story building with proposed permanent seated dining in a C1 Central Commercial Zoning District. Pursuant to section 270-13C3D, a restaurant serving alcoholic beverages is a permitted use. The second story is currently an abandoned residential use with proposed storage for the new restaurant located in the front portion of the building. The residential use has been abandoned for several years. The restaurant areas are as follows. Service areas, including kitchen facilities, storage, restrooms, employee stations, hallways, and utilities. Proposed from the plans is 702. I've calculated 610. The dining area is listed at 353, calculated by myself at 214. Permanent seated dining is proposed at 35. I have counted 35. The bar area is listed as 145. I have it calculated at 139, with 6 seats being associated to that bar area. The restaurant gross floor area is 702. I have it listed at 1,086, and I believe that's just from calculation differences once again. Ratio of bar to permanent seated dining is proposed as 5.83. It's actually calculated by the building inspector at 17%. I'm not sure what happened to their calculation there, but we are still under with my calculation. Pursuant to section 215.1 definitions, there are 2 patios located at the front and rear of the structure. The front patio is 46 square feet with 6 seats along a window ledge for service. The rear patio is 305 square feet with 27 seats for service. The two patios total 351 square feet and contain a total of 33 seats. It's important to note that that front patio will have barrier requirements due to the liquor board, the state liquor board requirements. The designated areas for proposed food storage and preparation are shown and labeled on the attached plans. The distance to the nearest property lines of the nearest church, public park, and residential lot are as follows. All Saints, approximately 0.26 miles away. Cranberry Park, which is 0.22 miles away. And the closest residential lot, and there's multiple of them. There are two designated, and they run along Maryland Avenue. The applicant has stated the approximate percentage of revenue between the sale of alcohol and food is 20% alcohol and 80% food. Authorization for the city to investigate is attached. Written dated declaration by the applicant is attached, and the fee of $1,000 has been paid. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Any questions of building and licensing by the commissioners? Hearing none, we'll turn it over to the applicant to share any information he would like. Bob Suppies. Just while we're waiting for Bob to come on, this used to be, I think, Seafood Shack at one time, if you're trying to locate where exactly this is on the second block of Baltimore. Bob, are you there?
I'm here. Thank you, Mayor, and thank you, commissioners, for doing this special session and hearing us. Lion Gardner, the owner of the building, and my business partner is here to kind of share a little bit about the restoration of this project with you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, commissioners. Yes, thank you for considering this application for this compliance for the restoration of the building at 42.5 Baltimore Avenue. It's one of the older buildings in town, and through working with our designer and architect and the building department, we managed to save this building. And I think it's a unique part of Rehoboth history. And we hope that we can bring some vibrancy back to this property located on Baltimore Avenue. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Leon. Bob, anything else you'd like to share? Or
no, I'm ready for any questions that you or the commissioners have for us.
Thank you very much. Commissioners, I'll open it to you. Any questions for the applicant before we go to public hearing? Hearing none, we'll go to the public, and I've lost my list. And I might need help here.
Mayor, I don't have any public to speak for this applicant.
Okay, Carol Everhart, do you want to say anything? Is she on yet?
Not there, I don't think.
Not there. All righty. I'm going to skip over Mark Hunker and Melissa unless you speak up right now. I apologize. Melissa, Bob, Mark, Jonathan, and Mark, did you have anything you wanted to offer on this particular application?
Mayor, all of the other public have dropped off the call.
Everybody's dropped off. Well, that makes our job a little easier, darn it. I was hoping to get some feedback. With that, we'll close the public hearing portion of this meeting, and we'll go back to discussion among the commissioners. Commissioner Sharp?
I just have a comment that I just think it's very nice to see a property owner that wants to restore and save a building in Rehoboth. So whatever effort has been expended to do that, I congratulate everybody that's worked on this, and that's a very nice change of pace. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Any other comments by the commissioners? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the permit of compliance and the supplemental patio dining permit of compliance.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to grant a restaurant permit of compliance and a dining patio supplemental permit of compliance as I find the following to be true: that the proper application for the restaurant permit of compliance and a dining patio supplemental permit of compliance has been filed, that the proper fee has been paid, that the proper notifications have been made, that all parties wishing to be heard have been heard, that the primary purpose of this is of a restaurant based on the application and the menu submitted, and that the restaurant and dining patio meet the city's applicable zoning and licensing provisions, that the restaurant and dining patio would not be a detriment to the peace, order, and quiet of the neighborhood and the city, that the restaurant and dining patio will not have an adverse impact on the neighboring properties or on the city of Rehoboth Beach, considering the impact on traffic, parking, and noise, that the applicant has made no false statements to the city employees or to the commissioners.
Second. We've got a motion by Commissioner Patrick Gossett and a second by Commissioner Susan Gay to authorize approval of permit of compliance for a restaurant known as Drift at 42.5 Baltimore Avenue, and including issuance of a supplemental permit of compliance for 2 patio dining areas. Is there any further discussion? I'll say I think this is a good re-addition back to Baltimore. They've done a fantastic job as restoration. I don't know if any of you walked by there in the last 6 months. You saw the building originally sitting on the ground, lifted up 3 feet, footers retrofitted and put back down. It's going to be a beautiful re-addition to Baltimore Avenue. With that, I'm going to do a roll call vote. Commissioner Susan Gay.
Aye.
Commissioner Jay Legree.
Aye.
Commissioner Ed Stranowski.
Aye.
Commissioner Patrick Gossett.
First off, I just want to congratulate and thank the owners of this for preserving and restoring this historic property, but yet modernizing it to meet the needs of today's visitors and the residents while maintaining the real character of Rehoboth Beach. And I hope this is used as an example for future development in the area. And with that, I do vote aye.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Bennett.
Aye.
Commissioner Sharp.
Aye.
And the mayor votes aye. The motion is approved unanimously. Congratulations, Bob.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Look forward to opening. What is your target date for opening?
We're hoping to have everything completed and approved with the city by the first week of May.
May 2022?
Yes, yes. Oh my God.
We are slower, lower Delaware. You know, you have to add the year.
And I love it. Everyone's been amazing. And thank you for the comments. We worked really hard. And when you see the inside, it's going to be just like the outside and look like it's been there for a long time, just well taken care of. You'll all enjoy it.
Thank you, Bob. You need not, you're welcome to stay and watch the next one, but you're also free to go. Thank you very much. With that, we're going to go to our third permit of compliance for Coho's Marketed Grill located at 305 Rehoboth Avenue. The instructions read by Glenn at the beginning of this meeting will apply to this application, of course. So we'll skip right to Mr. Mandalis identifying the submittal documents.
Thank you, Mayor. As before, we have a public notice. The public notice for this public hearing is for a permanent compliance request by Jam Holdings LLC for a restaurant serving alcoholic beverage with a patio to be known as Coho's Market and Grill. It was posted on February 9, 2022. And if the city secretary is on, I'll ask her to give the publication dates as well.
The publication dates for, let's see, Cape Gazette was February 15th, Coast Press February 16th, and Delaware State News February 17th.
Thank you, Ann.
Thank you, Ann.
Next is a building inspector's report dated February 25, 2022, and Mr. Janus will read that in a moment. Next is an application for permit of compliance. This is for a new restaurant permit of compliance and a dining patio supplemental permit of compliance. It's dated January 18, 2022. The application is there. It is, the supplemental checklist is there. It's signed by Mark Hunker on January 18, 2022. with a notary stamp there and an indication that the fee's been paid. There's a checklist for restaurants, also signed by Mr. Hunker. There's a checklist for dining patios, also signed by Mr. Hunker. And there's also a checklist for prohibited uses, signed by Mr. Hunker. Next, there is a sample menu consisting of 4 pages. It was received by the city secretary on January 18, 2022. There's a series of drawings in the packet prepared by Michael Coho, architect, for Coho's Market and Grill. They were received by the city secretary on January 18, 2022. The drawings are dated November 19 of 2020. And first you have sheet A2. Next is also indicated as sheet A2. It's the same as the front sheet, but this one is actually color coded to show permanent inside dining, service area, food storage area, outside dining area, kitchen food prep area, restroom area, and an existing ramp. It was also submitted on January 18, 2022. The next sheet is identified as sheet A3, also January 18, 2022. It shows a framing detail and front elevation. And those are the drawings in the packet, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll go right to Building and Licensing's report from Matthew Janis, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Before you is application number 0122-01, a new restaurant of permanent compliance and a dining supplemental permit of compliance for Coho's Market and Grill located at 305 Rehoboth Avenue. This is an application for an existing restaurant that is applying for the ability to serve alcohol both inside the building and on the newly created patio. The following is a complete report for the application referenced above to be heard pursuant to section 215-3. The applicant is Jam Holdings LLC, 23 Baltimore Avenue, Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, 19971. The name of the restaurant is Coho's Market and Grill. The restaurant is a table service establishment serving breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Again, the restaurant is located at 305 Rehoboth Avenue. Pursuant to the plans submitted, the following is true. The property is located it is not located at 1 Wilmington Avenue. My fault there. It's located at 305 Rehoboth Avenue. The owner is the Meadows Properties LLC of 506 Newcastle Street in Rehoboth, 19971. The existing structure is a single-story building divided into 2 separate commercial uses. One use is with proposed permanent seated dining in a C1 Central Commercial Zoning District pursuant to Section 270-13C3D. A restaurant serving alcoholic beverages is a permitted use. The other tenant, Love's Liquors, is not included in this application. Restaurant areas are as follows. Kitchen facilities, storage, restrooms, employee stations, hallways, and utilities. Proposed and the applicant has calculated 278. I've calculated 287. We're pretty close there. The dining area is calculated 877. I believe the applicant took the entirety of the restaurant here, and with respect to the plans, the actual dining area is 154 square feet. Permanent seated dining is 35, and I have calculated 35. The bar area, they have it listed as 0, not recognizing that they are currently installing a bar. And again, with this application, the areas are in the process of being created by a valid building permit as we speak. Again, they listed the bar area as 0, which is actually 41 square feet. But it's important to note that there will be 0 bar seats at this bar. So it is a service bar only and not an actual bar with seating around it. The restaurant gross floor area is 877 square feet. I have it calculated the same. Again, because there are no permanent seats at the bar, we have a 0% ratio there. Pursuant to section 215-1 definitions, the patio shall be a maximum of 750 square feet. The applicant has claimed that the patio is for 740 square feet, and I have confirmed that indeed that patio is 740 square feet. The designated areas for proposed food storage and preparation are shown and labeled on the attached plans. And the distance to the nearest property lines of the nearest church, public park, and residential lot are as follows. In town, I believe the applicant listed the closest churches out of town, but in town is All Saints Episcopal Church, approximately 0.56 miles. Deer Park, which is 0.15 miles away, and the closest residential lot abuts the property to the north, zoned R2. The applicant has stated that the approximate percentage of revenue between the sale of alcohol and food is 20% alcohol, 20% alcohol and 80% food. Authorization for the city to investigate is attached. Written and dated declaration by the applicant is attached, and the fee of $1,000 has been paid. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Any questions of the building inspector by the commissioners? If not, we'll go to the applicant and let him offer information. I would like to take a brief pause here. During Bob Suppy's and the Drift application, I meant to mention that he was not inexperienced restaurateur in Aqua. And obviously with Drift, he's decided to consolidate all three of his restaurants on the second block of Baltimore. In this application, we also have experienced restaurateurs, Mr. McGracken and Mr. Hunker, that also own Jam and Eden in the first block of Baltimore, but they've diversified a little more. And their third restaurant is up in the fifth block of Rehoboth Avenue. Mark or Jeff, are you there?
Yeah, I'll start and Jeff can say something. We're glad to be here in front of you. Thank you for those kind history of us, Mayor. We took over the market at late last year. This was Dave and Rick's, Dave Lyon and Rick Hardy's plan all along, but as you know, COVID hit. They did build the deck outside and had the plans to do all this. And like I said, we are following through on this. And I'm glad the building commissioner talked about the no seats at the bar will be a service bar only. And we just went, you said breakfast, lunch, and dinner. For us, we will have an early close. So it's really a dinner and take dinner with you as a late carry out piece, but continuing the same service as we do today. Jeff,
nope, that sums it up pretty well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jeff and Mark. Appreciate it. Any questions of the owners by the commissioners? Again, it's been an existing restaurant without alcohol service, and now they want to sell alcohol service. So they've ended up to fit the definition of restaurant. They've added 35 seats inside, and they've got already have existing outdoor dining. Any further discussion? I would open the public hearing portion. However, all those that have signed up are all gone. And so there are no members of the public wishing to speak. So I'm closing the public hearing, and we'll go back to the commissioners at some point. Comments, discussion, or offering a motion. The motion, of course, would include consideration of authorizing a permit of compliance, including authorizing a supplemental patio dining permit of compliance.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to grant a restaurant permit of compliance and a dining patio supplemental permit of compliance, as I find it following to be true, that the proper application for a restaurant permit of compliance and the dining patio supplemental permit of compliance has been filed, the proper fee has been paid, that the proper notifications have been made, that all parties wishing to be heard have been heard, that the primary purpose is that of a restaurant, that the restaurant and dining patio meet the city's applicable zoning and licensing provisions, that the restaurant and dining patio would not be a detriment to the peace, order, and quiet of the neighborhood and the city, that the restaurant and dining patio will not have an adverse impact on the neighboring properties or on the city of Rehoboth, considering the impact on traffic, parking, and noise, and that the applicant has made no false statements to the city employees or to the commissioners.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Patrick Gossett and a second by Commissioner Ed Stranowski to authorize approval of a permit of compliance for a restaurant serving alcohol, including authorization of a supplemental patio dining permit of compliance for the establishment known as Coho's Market and Grill to be, which is located at 305 Rehoboth Avenue. Is there any further discussion among the commissioners? Probably all of us have patronized this or other restaurants, and I certainly have here. They've got fantastic soups, but I'm glad to see that they are making an investment and kind of expanding within, so to speak. With that, if there's no further comment, I'm going to do a roll call vote. We'll start with Commissioner Jay Legree.
I vote aye.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Stranowski.
Aye.
Commissioner Gossett.
Aye.
Commissioner Tim Bennett.
Aye.
Commissioner Tony Sharp.
Aye.
Commissioner Susan Gay.
Looks like they're keeping that curry chicken salad, so I'm good.
Thank goodness. That's a yes, and the mayor votes yes. The motion is unanimously approved. Thank you much, gentlemen, for being here, and we appreciate your patience on getting this in front of everybody, and look forward to your continued service to Rehoboth Beach.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
So,
so much. Bye-bye.
bye-bye. With that, our next item of business is the executive session. Glenn, read the next item of business so that we are clear in why we are going into executive session, please.
Thank you, Mayor. The next item of business is item 4D. It's an executive session for the purpose of discussing personnel matters in which the names, competency, and abilities of individual employees are discussed as permitted by 29 Del Code Section 10,004B9, and for the purpose of discussing qualifications for employment as the city manager as permitted by 29 Del Code Section 10,004B1.
Thank you, Glenn. With this, I expect to go into executive session so that we can talk in private per freedom of information reference just cited by Glenn. And the duration of the executive session is unknown, but no decisions will be made inside the executive session. When we come back into public session, I don't expect any votes to take place at that point. That this is more an informational session. With that, I will entertain a motion to go into executive session per the reasons given on the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Who seconded? Raise your hand. Tony. I've got a motion by Commissioner Gay and a second by Commissioner Tony Sharp to enter into executive session for the purpose of discussing personnel matters in which the names, competency, and abilities of individual employees are discussed as permitted by Freedom of Information Act, specifically 29 Del.C, Section 10.1004B9, and for the purpose of discussing special qualifications for employment as city manager as permitted by 29 Del.C, Section 10,004B1. So the correction in that first reference is 10,004, which is the Freedom of Information Act. We have a motion. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of going into executive session signify by saying aye. Raise your hand so we can identify 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And that motion is approved unanimously. We'll be going in a minute or so into executive session. The screen will be blacked out for the public. And again, we'll be back sometime in the unknown near future. Thank you.
We don't have to sign out and sign back in, right? No. Okay.
No. Just give me a few seconds.
Okay. I'm good.
Hey, I'm here.
Are we back in public session?
Yes, you are.
All righty. Thank you. Well, could I entertain a motion from the commissioners to come out of executive session and back into public session?
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Susan Gay and a second by Tony Sharp to come out of executive session and back into public session. Is there any discussion? If not, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Hold your hand up so we can do a count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and the motion's unanimously approved. We're back in public session. And with that, there's no actions to take place. And with that, I adjourn the meeting today at 11:26 a.m. Thank you very much.
Thanks.